Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Movie Night series review. I am not alone. It is me, Dalton Burdett, with the amazing Nicholas Iricchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
I am born again, my friend.
We both are, baby. We did it!
We both are. We did it. We finally made it big enough to do something worthwhile.
Yes, guys, just to let you know, right off the bat, we have seen the full season of Daredevil Born Again. And that is what we're going to be reviewing. But do not worry, we're not going to spoil anything. This is a completely non-spoiler review. Anything that hasn't been shown in a trailer or is very like public knowledge from Marvel themselves, we are not going to be spoiling any details like that. We're just going to be giving you our full thoughts on the show, and we can now dive into it without just like tweeting something, which is really nice. And we're going to start off by focusing on the first two episodes because that's what's going to be dropping right when this review drops because the embargo drops at the same time. And without further ado, buddy, let's dive right into this thing.
Let's
So,
get into it.
episodes 1 and 2, I thought were a really great start to the show, particularly episode 1. I like episode 1 a lot. And I think the way that it kind of sets up this story and the way that it tonally, kind of as an audience member, puts you through a lot of emotions at once, but it does a great job balancing it tonally. And I would say even if you didn't watch the Netflix show, this is very much a sequel to. It feels very much like a sequel to that series, and it just is from direct references, and we all know. And if you follow this channel for any number of years, you know how excited we are about that. But I feel like it does a good job of just showing you, whether it be through Matt and Fisk or through any other characters, you feel history with people. And that's kind of a big catalyst for the show when it kicks off is how history with people versus how the relationship is going to be going forward. And the thing in the trailer, the meeting scene with Matt and Kingpin, in full context of the episode, I was gripping my couch. It was so tense, so well done. And, where they're left at the end of episode 1, it's beautifully shot, by the way, the final scene of episode 1. It leads kind of directly into episode 2, which starts to get a little bit more in terms of the legal side of Matt Murdock and Daredevil. And that's also from the trailer where you get introduced to different concepts such as other vigilantes like the White Tiger and things of that nature. And, for just speaking of episodes 1 and 2, I thought that episode 2 did a good job of making the show feel a little bit more episodic than the previous show did, just meaning that it kind of has self contained stories that it can wrap up, while also still maintaining that serial element of there is an overarching story that we are telling. So that was interesting, and it's also kind of slave to the fact that this was a show that shot a lot of episodes before they came in and redid it. And, a lot of the footage that we have is from what was before. But I think if you didn't know that going in, you wouldn't feel it. They do a really good job of implementing whatever was new with whatever was shot before, and it felt like a really good continuous story. I think particularly the end of episode 2. If you've never watched Daredevil before, the end of episode 2 would definitely get you like, all right, this I'm into whatever they're doing here. So before we go past that, kind of give me your thoughts on the first two episodes.
No, I thought that it was one of the stronger pilots that Disney Plus has put out.
Mm,
I think primarily, I think my biggest gripe with it was really wanting like season 4 of the Netflix show
mm-hmm.
and them giving you that to a certain extent, and also what the new show is, right? Because obviously we have a new team, a new creative team, new showrunners, new directors, and they do want that show to feel like it does have its own identity, which it does.
Yes.
But to me, I think the first episode took that, like, it took a little bit to, it was a bit jarring,
Okay.
to be like, okay, like now I'm getting used to this is how the show's gonna look, this is where we're going. Like, let me just sort of adapt to that. But in terms of the season as a whole, I thought it was fantastic. But I thought it was a strong, solid. I like the idea that obviously from the trailers that Fisk is now mayor and is very clearly running on this anti-vigilante platform. And as you're introduced to, like Dalton said, the White Tiger and everything, this new side of the MCU that we're seeing, these really street level vigilante type heroes. I found really interesting, and the storylines I found compelling personally.
Same. I agree. And getting into kind of episode 3, which is very much an extension of episode 2. Episodes 2 and 3 kind of feel like one story a little bit. The way that you see Matt operating both in the courtroom and outside of the courtroom, and the different journeys that they're going on. But not only that, particularly the end of episode 3. The end of episode 3 does something very unexpected, where you're like, oh, where's the story going now? And I feel like what this version of Born Again does really well is constantly put you in a state of, well, what's going to happen next? And it kind of sucks that a lot of everyone's gonna have to be watching this weekly, because we had the luxury of clicking next, because there were a couple of cliffhangers where I was like, damn, if I didn't have this right away, I would be like waiting to watch the next episode. But I feel like that's what they want. They want you to want more. Particularly episode 3, I felt that. There's also some other storylines. We know from the trailers that Frank Castle, the Punisher, does return in this show, played by Jon Bernthal again. He's excellent in the series, and the kind of side stories that they're setting up with him as part of that vigilante world that you were talking about, I thought was one of the best storylines in the show. I think that, the way that they kind of deconstruct both Fisk and Matt. And I feel like what I like about the identity of this new show is Fisk almost feels like a co-lead to me, more so than he did in the previous show, which is not a bad thing. And that you have Daredevil and Fisk, Matt and Wilson, who both are trying so hard to fight against the nature of who they are, being Daredevil and Kingpin, by basically putting on fake masks in their everyday lives of him being, Matt Murdock the lawyer and Wilson Fisk the mayor, which we know from the trailer. And you just kind of see both of them, and especially what they intercut it very well between them on their journeys. They both just slowly slip back to like their nature, just who they are. Like, they are Daredevil and Kingpin, and like that nature fighting against them, trying so hard to suppress it, I think was such an interesting and integral part of this new story. And you really feel the ramifications of that as it goes, especially through episodes 4, 5, and 6 for Matt specifically, Kingpin as well. Something I will say before I throw it over to you again is when they announce like the episodes that are coming out, they announce that episodes 5 and 6 are going to be releasing together on the same day, which I found interesting. And I know exactly why they did it. Episode 5 is a very much so, yes, it has story stuff and characters that connect to things later, but it feels very much so like a very standalone MCU adventure episode, kind of. And episode 6 is kind of more related to episode 4. So I feel like they did 5 and 6 together, so that 4, after you wait a week after 4 and you still get 6, so that you get that story that you were waiting to see it kind of wrap up. And not that episode 5 was bad, but I did say for me, one of the very few negatives I have with the show is episode 5, while it's not bad as a standalone, it was very much a momentum killer in like watching the show after 4, like where it was leading up to. And that's how I felt personally. But throwing it over to you, 1, just how'd you feel about those middle string of episodes? And 2, how did you feel about kind of Matt and Kingpin and how their parallel journeys throughout the show?
I think that's the strongest element of the show for me personally, and I think it kind of speaks to season 1. It's really a lot of, right, Kingpin is this mysterious figure. Who is he? And building up to that initial confrontation, and then it sort of loses all that momentum. He shows up a little bit in season 2, right? But they really focused on Punisher and Elektra trying to set up defenders, and Fisk got really sidelined. And I think you feel him missing from the show, because the minute he comes in toward the end of season 2 of the Netflix series, right? You're like, oh, here we fucking go.
Mm-hmm.
Shit's about to go crazy, because you expect that with Kingpin. And I think that's why, for me personally, like season 3, the Netflix show is the strongest season, because it just doubles down and gives everyone what they want, which is Matt and Kingpin, Daredevil versus Kingpin in all its glory. And I think that's what's really strong about this show. And what is interesting, going to what you said, is Kingpin being like a co-lead. Like, there is so much story that centers around Kingpin in this series, and it is strong because they do a great job of almost, obviously he's a villain, right? But they do
What?
such
I'm
a good job.
shocked.
But they do such a good job of like finding that balance, right? Like the performance is so layered that Vincent D'Onofrio gives that you're able to have those moments of empathy and understanding with the character, which I think is the benefit of having him as the co-lead. Because again,
Mhm.
it's just giving people what they want because that buildup of they're gonna revert back into their old ways. Now what happens when they're gonna clash? It's just gonna be like no holds barred, like bloodfest.
Yes, and going off to what you said, with the amount of story that we're getting with Kingpin is true, and Vincent D'Onofrio's performance is so good because there's a point in the beginning of the show where you don't know if he's lying or not about like if he's a changed person, if he's a changed man, how that's going to go, and the fact that his performance was so good that even me, who's the Netflix corner of the MCU, is their favorite thing, like one of their favorite things about the MCU, knowing this character, watched several hours of this character going like, is he being for real? Like I was really like interested, this damn thumbs up thing, but I was really interested in that and how that was going to play out, and I thought Vincent D'Onofrio did very well. Before you talk about the middle episodes, I just want to do one more thing. There's also in this story, and this, we know this from the trailers as well, that the original actress who played Vanessa came back after the reshoots. There's a ton of story with Vanessa, and I dig it. She gave a great performance, and what they do with this character, which I'm not going to go into, but what they do with this character was so interesting, and I thought that was one of the better parts of the story.
I jumping off that, I do agree because to me, I think it was so like had mixed thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World, right? And I did really like Harrison Ford's Thaddeus Ross and like that arc of that character going on. But I would be lying if I said that I didn't have like that familiarity didn't play a role in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I would have been more connected had it been. Unfortunately, William Hurt obviously sadly passed away,
Yeah.
but I think having that character in that role that we've seen over several films, like I think there is, while I know he's playing the same character, it was a different portrayal. And I feel like that role was riding on all of that buildup with it. And I felt the same way about, and we're kind of seeing the flip now with Vanessa coming back. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if I would have had or if it would have had the same impact for me if it was a different actress that I'm like, okay, and constantly reminding myself, like, okay, this is Netflix Vanessa. This is Netflix
Yeah.
Vanessa.
Yeah. No,
Does that make yeah,
I'm with
you
you.
know?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. It's the general kind of recast problem that people can have, and like just like what you said, the emotional connection. But no, I felt it fully strongly there with the original Vanessa actress as well.
Especially when you have a character like Wilson and Kingpin, whose only thing is like, I am obsessed with this woman.
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa is my life, and then you're seeing a different Vanessa, and you're like, yeah, but that's not your Vanessa, my
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. You made a big point about this other Vanessa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about the middle episodes a little bit, kind of 4 through 6. What were your thoughts watching it, and was 5 a bit of a momentum killer to you as it was to me?
I think it was just a fun episode. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't so much of a momentum killer. I think in the way that I watched it was like I watched 4 like pretty late at night. So then like I had that day, and then I was able to watch like 5, 6, and 7 kind of in a string. So I didn't really feel like that initial, like I gave myself a forced pause, not for any reason other than timing, but
Mm-hmm.
if I think in your case, if you're streaming, right, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever in a row, I could see that gap there. I think it would have felt a lot on a weekly release if they did it individually. But that
Mm-hmm.
being said, on an individual basis, I really did like it. I thought it was fun. It was comic booky. It's sort of the fun you want to be having. I mean, not fun, but it's pretty tense, I thought.
Yeah,
But thinking back on the season as a whole, I feel like there was other ways where they could have integrated that more into the story where
I
it
agree.
wouldn't have had such a momentum shift.
Mm-hmm.
Just like one or two little changes that I think would have worked, but I overall I did enjoy the episode.
Yeah, I enjoyed the episode too. Like especially like just as a standalone, if you want to throw it on, like it's
Yeah.
a good episode. But it was the only one that I think personally it felt hindered by the previously shot footage. That was the only one that felt it for me.
Mhm.
And who knows? There could have been some reshot footage somewhere in there because I know that they had to tweak some stuff from what was already shot, particularly everything with Vanessa. But it was, I thought that it was still a good episode, but for me, I was like, man, I was really like on a high going after 4. So it is smart that they're dropping 5 and 6 together. Guys, I'm not going to mince words when I say this, and please know that I say this. The original Daredevil show is one of my favorite television shows of all time, the Netflix Daredevil. I love that show. Daredevil's one of my favorite comic book characters. You should, if you've seen the old studio and some of our older videos, you saw the Daredevil comic books that I have. Love this character. Love that show. I begged my dad to sign up for Netflix so I could watch that show. Like, that's like how deep that runs within me. The finale of Daredevil Born Again might be one of the best episodes in all of Daredevil. It's so good. The finale episode is so good. And just 7 through 9 are just like banger, banger, bang. Like even 6, I even say 6 through 9. Banger, 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 banger. And like even then, like it's not like the episodes before that weren't bangers. They were all good. But man, they had to crush this finale. And holy shit, do they. And not only that, it's also kind of the decision to officially like accept the canon of the Netflix Defender shows. That decision was obviously the right one for people like me who were obsessed with them. But the finale episode, with how well they tie in not only the current story, but just the history of what these characters have gone through, man, you could feel how right that decision was to canonize those shows in that finale episode. Like you really feel how important it was. And the way that it ends, I wanted season 2 immediately. Like, I literally tweeted, I was like, all I can tell you right now is give me season 2 ASAP. Like, I want season 2 so badly. It ends in such a good place. I was thoroughly satisfied with the finale of the show. And my overall thoughts, really, it's exceptional. It's one of the best Disney Plus shows. It might be the best one, but I'm also incredibly biased towards this character, so I I don't want to like say it's the best because like I'm prone to thinking that ahead of time. But even bias aside, it's amazing. And you talking about it being one of the best pilots, it is the best pilot, Disney Plus MCU pilot I've seen. It's great.
I say that about the pilot, but there is the caveat of like if you never watched the Netflix show, I feel like certain elements of the series as a whole are not as impactful or maybe just downright confusing.
I don't know about confusing. Impactful, 100%. There are going to be things that are not as impactful if you don't have that history. But I think the show does a really great job of, establishing the history without doing it through like really cheesy, stupid expository dialogue. Like they never dip into that. You can just feel through performance and through honestly just filmmaking, like the history between these two people, like really great scripts and how people are interacting with each other and like just the way it's so well done in that regard. Like I would actually be curious. I would never recommend somebody skip the original Daredevil show. Let me be very clear about that. But I'd be very curious to hear from people who just start with this and get their thoughts, especially after the first 2 episodes. Like I would love to like see what how they're feeling, what they're thinking. Something else that I wanted to bring up in the review, and there's something that's been very well documented in the trailers, is Muse. The character of Muse is in the show, along with White Tiger as well. I personally thought that what they did with Muse worked really well for the story that they were telling and the story they were going for. It tied into both sides of the coin of Daredevil and Fisk in a very interesting way. I think that the performance of the actor, and I'm not going to say the actor because I don't know if they've ever publicly said, but the performance of the actor playing Muse I thought was really good. And there's a fight sequence with Daredevil and Muse that fucking rules. It's so good.
Well, just to pivot off that one, Muse, yes, fantastic. Works really well for what they want to do with the show, and I found the character compelling, and the fight choreography, like that fight scene, was great. On a whole, though, the fight coordination on the show was very good.
Yeah, because they brought back the guy who did season 1 and 2, Philip Cervera, and you can feel
and like it needed it.
Yeah, you can feel how good the fight scenes are, and with Muse, though, I will say, I personally thought they did great, and I thought that he served the story purpose exactly as he was supposed to. There are going to be a subsection of fans, and this also applies to White Tiger, and Muse. There are going to be a subsection of fans who are disappointed with the amount of time you get with them. Because this is a 9-episode show, and there's tons of history and tons of characters to get through. So not everyone is going to get the love and the time as other characters are going to get, but they do come in and play a really important part in the story, and then, that part of the story is over. And I think that there are going to be some White Tiger and Muse fans who are a little bit disappointed and hoping that they just got more of them. But in terms of storytelling, I thought they were used to perfection. And I personally was very satisfied. But I will not be shocked to see some negative pushback from that.
Yes, but I think there's satisfaction if the characters are used to the best advantage, right? So like look at Kingpin in season 2. There was really no Kingpin story to have in there, but the little amount of time you have was so impactful with Kingpin, and obviously that then led into something greater, like in season 3 or something. But to me, that goes into sort of what my big, I guess, criticism of the show would be, which is it is a very overstuffed show. Now,
Yeah.
I don't feel the overstuffedness because I think everything flows well, and obviously we were dealing with like a creative overhaul, rewrites, reshoots, and everything like there. And to me, I thought it all blended and flowed pretty well. It was just there was a lot. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of storylines, and so as a result of that, I felt that some were underdeveloped, and I think would benefit depending on what they do in season 2. Watching this as a whole, I could
Yeah.
see being that, because I did feel a little like I was like, oh, I want more of this. I wanted more of this. Like maybe they should have cut this, done this more, or whatever be it. And I think that's sort of where they do a lot in 9 episodes.
Yeah. And, you are going from 13 episodes to 9 from Netflix to here. So you do feel, just from what you've had before, like, oh, maybe they could have expanded it more or done more. Oh, I thought the season was paced pretty spectacularly, with the exception of 5. But
I think they've always paced well.
Yeah.
Just Daredevil across the board.
I agree. And I agree with you exactly what you're saying about the characters and their use in the story. I just know the internet. And I know that there are going to be people who are just unhappy regardless of what you do. But I could see watching it like, oh, I know a subsection of people who are not going to enjoy that they didn't get as much, that they didn't get a lot of time, But, it is what it is. Yeah. To kind of wrap it up here. I also didn't say this off the top because I felt that it wasn't needed. Charlie Cox, fucking amazing. He was born to play Daredevil, and he brings it, his A game in the show. I shouldn't have to say that, but just to put it out there, of course he did. And what I will say I was thinking about trying to compare it to like how it feels versus the Netflix show, and it's not to this degree. So don't feel like it's an extreme degree that what I'm about to say. But this is the only comparison I could really think of in my brain. Alien and Aliens are both fantastic movies. And if you watch Aliens, you would agree, oh, this is a very worthy follow-up to Alien. This is an exceptionally well-made thing. That is a sequel, a direct sequel to something I really love. But they're very different movies. Now, the shows are not that different. They're not like Aliens different, and that's not what I mean by the comparison. But in terms of to describe when we say like, yes, it's a continuation of the show, but it feels different, it feels like it has its own identity, that's where that comparison kind of comes in. Is that like, yes, this is a worthy sequel to this thing that I really love. It's not the exact same thing in terms of how it feels, but it's very similar and it's very worthy. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? We're calling it Daredevil season 4 because obviously there's a lot of continuation and overlap. Yeah. But to me, what they set up and do at the end of season 3 is not what is continued here.
No, not. I mean, yeah.
It is like it's not like this would not have ever been season 4 of the Netflix series.
No, absolutely not. This would have been like season 7 or 8.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's sort of the way, right? So it's like we say it's a continuation because like yes, characters are returning, yes, they're making references to the past seasons and stuff, but like it's not season 4 in the regards of like you would watch season 3 and then watch this, you're like, oh no, that's not season 4 of this show. It is born again.
That's true.
There is rebirth. There's rejuvenation.
I will say it did justify the renaming of season 1. Like when I was watching it, I was like, this does feel like a season 1 and not like
Yes.
a season 4.
Yeah, and I think that's right. That's the benefit of it.
But it is
But
still
yeah.
very much a follow-up
So-
to what we've seen. And, you know,
Same, but different.
yes. What an excellent way to put it, Nick.
Mhm.
What an excellent way to put it. But yeah, I'm very satisfied with the show. My complaints are very minimal. As someone who adores the original Netflix show, this feels like a very worthy follow-up to that show. I cannot wait to watch it again week to week. I cannot wait for season 2. I know they're shooting it right now. Enthusiastic, positive review from me. Would you say so yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I cannot wait week by week to see the internet reactions because
Oh, yes.
I am burdened with knowledge
Yes.
and I'm just waiting.
Yes. And I'm going to be doing, after each episode airs, I'm going to be doing a live spoiler discussion where I just kind of blab about spoilers. And if you join in the live chat, I'll answer any questions and kind of go and just kind of discuss the episodes. We're doing Wednesday for the first episode for the first 2 to give this video like some time to breathe. But after that, we're going to be doing them Tuesday nights right after the episodes finish. I'm going to be hopping on doing spoiler discussions. So I'm really excited about that. If you guys want to join, please do so. Please give us a like and a subscribe, you know, all that fun YouTube bullshit that you have to say. But guys, Daredevil Born Again is here. Daredevil is back. Finally, after 7 years. Are you going to be watching? What did you think? You know, once you started watching it, please come back and comment your thoughts down here below. We'd love to see them. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and we will see you on the next review.